What was Amy Winehouse like to work with?
Oh, everything that you would expect. She was, she could be the most delightful. She's this really sweet girl down there. I mean, she always described herself. She said she just wanted to be a Jewish mum in North London and have loads of kids and sing jazz. So the one thing that was amazing about her, I've never known an artist to have so little regard for commercial success. Couldn't care less about it. And in fact, you go, wow, your record's done this. She's like, well, hey, what? Doesn't care. Didn't care. It was so much about the music for her. But I also had this funny thing is I kind of felt with her, I think she had a little problem with certain men that she thought were sort of in authority. I don't know where that stemmed from her dad. So I was a bit like a headmaster at times. So, but I was really privileged to see her in the studio. I spent a lot of time in the studio, actually more so on Frank than on Back to Black. But she was just an absolute force of nature. There's a famous line that Dylan said about creativity. I'm really going back here now, and that he was talking about a song like a Rolling Stone, and he said he vomited it out. It's just that it just poured out of it. And I saw with Amy the same kind of thing where stuff would just come out of it. It was no preparation at all. It was just like, bleh. I mean, love it. Probably my favorite song of hers in terms of lyric stuff is "Love Is a Losing Game," which is just incredible song. As John, I love Rehab, but "Love Is a Losing Game" lyrically is just genius, particularly when it's written by basically a young girl. And that was just kind of on the fly, bang, knocked it out. So, but she was also, as we all know, she was troubled and difficult. I think, look, there's no artist that has that level of creativity and genius who is a normal person. The reality is, there just isn't. They've got to have had something, I wouldn't say is wrong with them, but something different in them, which brings that level of creativity. And actually, the funny thing is, you certainly get certain artists that go through that kind of. I was lucky enough to meet David Bowie not long before he died, just when he was doing Black Star, and he's always someone I've just, he's just a phenomenal, one of the most sort of kind of forward-thinking, prescient artists. And he was charming and delightful. I'm sure he wasn't his entire career. But you get to that point, if you get to that kind of plateau and you just go, I'm just going to be nice to everybody because, I've got nothing to prove at all. It's, as I say, it's the guys a few tiers down. They're the major pains in the arse.
Reflecting on Amy's troubles that she dealt with in her personal life, and just maybe some of the troubles other artists have to go through, how much responsibility is it on the label to nurture them and to keep them on the straight and narrow and to have the well-being of the artist at their forefront? I think it's
a huge responsibility. Particularly now, I think it's a mental health. I think is a massive, massive responsibility. Or, it's funny, and I mean, Iron Records and Universal got quite a lot of flack during the Amy Winehouse about, how can you possibly get that girl to do this? How can she possibly be working and doing? And the reality is, we took so much advice, to the point where we stopped her doing everything, because she lived to play live. She wanted to play live. She wanted to, she loved it, but, frequently becoming more and more of a train wreck. But if we thought, we advised, well, pull the plug, stop everything, and then she'll kind of come to heel. The reality is, it didn't work. There was no. It's that classic thing is, she had to sink to the absolute bottom and get herself out of that issue. But we had to do everything in our power to try and not enable her. But I was amazed by the amount of conflicting advice we're going in. To do nothing. No, she's got to do something because she's got to have something to live for. It was very confusing, but I think now it's interesting. I don't know whether I think maybe the Amy situation is kind of driven a lot. You see, most of the majors will have a policy regarding mental health, and a duty of care to artists. I think, Amy is a very extreme version, but there's loads of other things. I mean, you hear these stories, and I've seen it. You show an awful lot of kids a glimpse of success, so you kind of faking a lifestyle for a period of time. So you sign a deal and they're going, oh, we're doing a TV show in Belgium. We're staying in a nice hotel and someone's picking us in a car and and then you go, oh, it didn't work out. The rug's pulled. And that's a reality, but it's pretty hard to adjust life. Like I was working, I was stacking shelves in, Tesco. I got my deal with a band. I had a great year and I'm back stacking shelves at Tesco. And that's, I think that's a hard thing for anybody to kind of deal with, but that's the reality. So I think we've all taken a view that there has to be a better way of, getting people prepared for, I wouldn't say lack of success, but, I sort of think going back into civilian life and, what does that mean?
The only comparison I can make is like veterans. I come from, my dad was a veteran. He went from being a young man, a boy, from a local housing association, a local council estate, put on this very intense program where he was in the army, vigorous training, new location every week, and then put into war with the Falklands. And then left the army and came back to civilian life without any support. And I can imagine that feels somewhat similar to the life cycle of a failed artist or a artist.
Well, I mean, I'd hate to equate sort of, someone who's battle scarred and had, PTSD from a combat point of view, which is a whole different experience. But it is just that, I mean, it's the same kind of thing. It's these horrible things that, the people killing themselves after being on Love Island, because you realize, if someone goes, you're 25 and you think, God, I've peaked, my life's never going to be better. And that's how some people do think. Is like, the dream is, I've been in a band and I've got a record deal and this is just incredible. I'm like, oh, someone's just taken it away. And again, that happens really frequently. And I think it's, as I said, I think it's difficult. It's difficult for some people who may already be fragile to manage that process. And I think that's where you see sort of, casualties come out of it. So the short answer is yes, there is a much more consideration and a duty of care towards the artist community. I think that has been. I think Amy was probably one of the catalysts for that.